Okay, so picture this. Two ancient traditions, born from the same soil, and they both promise a way out of suffering. But here's the twist. One tells you the key is to perfect your eternal soul, while the other tells you that the soul doesn't even exist. Today, we're diving into the profound, and I mean really profound, divide between Jainism and Buddhism.
It's a question we've all probably asked ourselves at some point, right? How do we get off this roller coaster of pain and stress and this endless cycle of wanting something, getting it, and then wanting something else? Is there a way out? Well, way back in 6th century BCE India, two incredible thinkers were wrestling with this very same question. We're talking about Mahavira, the founder of Jainism, and Gautama Buddha, the founder of Buddhism. They both looked at the world and they saw a fundamental problem. And that problem, it has a name: samsara. This is the starting line for both traditions. They both agreed that we're all caught in this relentless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, and that it's inherently filled with suffering. So the goal for both of them was to escape. The thing is, their escape plans could not be more different. So, first up, let's explore the Jain path. Their entire philosophy, really, is built on this idea of purification. But purifying what exactly? The answer is the jiva, which basically means the soul. For Jains, every single living thing, and I mean everything from you and me to animals to plants, even down to tiny microscopic critters, has a soul. And in its natural state, this soul is perfect, it's pure, it's conscious, and it's eternal. So you might be thinking, okay, if the soul is already perfect, what's the issue? Well, this is where the Jain idea of karma gets really unique. See, for Jains, karma isn't just a concept, it's a physical, material substance. The best way to think about it is like tiny, invisible particles of dust that get attracted to our soul every time we act, think, or speak. And that right there is the heart of the Jain diagnosis of our problem. Our soul is this brilliant, pure, radiant thing, but has gotten all covered up by this karmic gunk. This stuff weighs it down, hides its true nature, and keeps it trapped in that cycle of samsara. The goal then isn't to fix the soul, but just to clean it. So how do you get it clean? Well, Jains follow what's called the Triratna, or the Three Jewels. It's basically a spiritual toolkit. You've got right faith, so you believe in the truth, right knowledge, so you understand it, and crucially, right conduct, a super strict code of nonviolence meant to stop any new karma from sticking to you and to help scrub off all the old stuff. And what happens when all that karmic dust is finally gone? That's when you achieve moksha. The soul, now totally pure and weightless, is completely free. It literally rises up to the top of the universe, where it just hangs out forever in a state of pure bliss and consciousness, totally free from the cycle of rebirth. Okay, so that's one path. Now, let's do a complete 180 and turn to Buddhism. If the Jain path is all about purification, the Buddhist path is all about awakening. And what the mind awakens to is a completely different version of reality. Right off the bat, we see a huge difference with karma. For Buddhists, karma is not some physical dust floating around. Nope, it's a mental force. It's all about the intention behind what you do. It's not the action itself, but the will, the volition that creates the karmic result. The problem isn't something sticking to you from the outside. The problem starts inside your own mind. And this is where Buddhism makes its most radical claim, and the biggest break from Jainism. It's the idea of anatman, or no self. Buddhism basically says if you look deep inside yourself for a permanent, unchanging core you, you're not going to find one. What we think of as our self is just a temporary mashup of constantly changing physical and mental parts. So if there's no soul to save, what's the point of it all? Well, the Buddha laid it out like a doctor's diagnosis in what's called the Four Noble Truths. It's super logical. 1, here's the symptom: life involves suffering. 2, here's what's causing it: our craving and attachment. 3, the good news: there's a cure. It is possible to end the suffering. And 4, here's the prescription: the Eightfold Path. So the goal here isn't to free a soul, because remember, they say there isn't one to begin with. The goal is nirvana, which literally means to extinguish or to blow out. And what are you blowing out? The fires of greed, hatred, and ignorance. Once those fires are out, the suffering stops, and so does the cycle of rebirth. So let's just recap. We've got two traditions, both starting with the same problem of samsara, but they are built on a foundational disagreement about who or what we even are. Is there a self or isn't there?
Let's put them side by side. It's pretty stark. When it comes to the soul, Jainism says, absolutely, yes, you have an eternal, individual soul, and it's your true identity. Buddhism comes back and says, nope, the idea of a permanent self is an illusion. In fact, clinging to that idea is what causes you to suffer. And that core belief, as you can imagine, completely changes the finish line. For Jains, the ultimate goal is moksha. It's basically a cosmic rescue mission for the soul. For Buddhists, the goal is nirvana, ending the process of suffering altogether. And their methods totally reflect their goals. To physically scrub off that karmic dust, Jainism calls for some seriously intense self-discipline, sometimes even extreme asceticism. But for Buddhism, since the problem is in the mind, the solution is the middle path, a balanced, moderate approach that avoids extremes to help you cultivate wisdom and clear-headedness. So here we are. We have two completely distinct paths, both trying to solve the problem of suffering. But they take us to wildly different conclusions about what we are and what it even means to be free. You know, you could honestly boil this whole thing down to this one simple contrast. Jainism says you are a perfect, eternal self. Your job is to purify it. And Buddhism says your suffering comes from believing you're a permanent self. Your job is to realize there's no such thing. It's an ancient question, but it leaves us with two incredibly profound answers. So which is it? Do we find freedom by polishing the diamond of our soul until it's absolutely flawless? Or do we find it by realizing we aren't the diamond at all, but just the light that's constantly changing as it passes through? The path you choose depends entirely on your answer. Thanks for digging into this with me.